found that it is around 19 days into the new year that most people quit on their New Year's resolutions. Now, with that, we are going in depth on financial knowledge with the founder of Fill the Gap, Philip Williams. Welcome, Phil. How are you?
Well, thank you, Dike. Excited to be here. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for making the time because, in terms of saying, okay, well, we're starting the year right, and some of the things to think about is how we're dealing with our money. When you hear or someone asks you about budgeting for your life, what are some of those first things that you start to share with that individual?
It's interesting that you started there, but so I've worked in the financial sector as an investment professional for many years, and over the span of my career, I've had the opportunity, I would say the unique opportunity to not only do investment type stuff, but also to do financial planning or do seminars early in my career. And that opportunity gave me the I got the opportunity, sorry, to interact with people from all walks of life. And one thing that is very, very obvious is that there's a huge gap in financial knowledge, otherwise known as financial literacy, and just a basic understanding of how the economy works and how it impacts the personal finance decisions that you make. So I'm Phil, I am Phil, and Fill the Gap provides financial knowledge to fill the gap, fill those knowledge gaps from where you are now and where you want to be financially. So, and we focus on that by, using the 5 pillars, I would call the 5 PTG pillars, which is really the foundation of your financial education and a successful financial journey. And budgeting, I would say, take it a step with the budgeting for your life, not someone else's life, budgeting for your life is the basis of all the personal finance decisions that you make. And I heard you in the beginning talking about Quitter's Day. What I would say with a budget, I usually ask people if they write it down. Do you put pen to paper? Sometimes people say they have it in their head, which is not the space for your budget. It should be on pen and paper, and you should be looking at your expenses matched up against your income. Pen and paper, I know we're in the information age and it's technology out there, so you can use an app or you can use a spreadsheet, but it's really writing down every single expense that you have. Because that's how you know if you have the ability to save. And sometimes people say, well, I don't really have anything. Now, that may be so, but the only way you're going to know that is if you put pen to paper, have that budget, lay the foundation, and even if you don't get it right the first month, you don't stick to your budget. Usually that's what happens. But over the second, third, fourth, fifth month, you will see yourself getting better. And just a gentle reminder, personal finance is less about perfection and hitting the budget all the time, but more about the direction that you're going. But just keep in mind, the budget is the basis of all your personal finance decision. And without that foundation, you won't have strong financial, be on strong financial footing for your financial journey.
And I like the way you make that distinction with personal finance. Now,
Yes.
we're going to get into a lot of what you were talking about just now, and I'm going to ask you to read and spell for me because my dad taught maths, phys, chem, and I think I ran away as far as possible from maths, and it comes back to haunt me from time to time. But what are some of those ways, and if you had a checklist of accumulating wealth, what would they be?
Well, definitely. In terms of accumulating wealth, and it's interesting. It's like usually people fast forward and they go straight to they think about investing, which is very important, and it's the one of the main things to help you achieve the long-term goals. But definitely, after you've budgeted and you pretty much like a detective, and you realize, well, okay, I can save here. Maybe I could cut back here. Then you start saving with a purpose as the second pillar. Saving with a purpose. When I say purpose, because if you do not have a purpose, you might save 1 month, you may not save the other month. Remember, we're talking about direction. So saving with a purpose, and one of the first purposes I would say is definitely saving for an emergency fund. The thing that you think that is never going to happen, I can promise you it is going to happen. So creating that buffer, right, really lays is a major part of the foundation to accumulating wealth, the ability to save. And somebody might say, listen, I'm waiting for the raise, I'll start saving next month, or when I get the raise, or next year, when I get the bonus. if I'll tell you this, if you're having challenges saving when you have a little, you're probably going to adopt the same habits when you do actually get money. So it's important to start saving as early as possible. And someone might be saying, listen, $100 is really nothing, or $50 is really nothing. But over time and consistency, it does add up.
And I really like the fact that you say, okay, we'll start from where you are, moving to where you want to be. And the pandemic has really shown us that things can be put into a tailspin without much of a moment's notice. So all it takes, you may still be working, but then you have an individual or you're a contact and you need to go home, you're quarantined, and you're not permanent, because there's so many people who are no longer permanent, and they say, I should have started.
Yes.
But what do you tell that person, though, in terms of saying, okay, well, this is where I am now. How can I, when I may not be even making nearly as much or making at all at this point in time?
And I'm glad that you mentioned that and linked it to the pandemic, because many people lost jobs, either got a cut in salary. It is a difficult time, and situations are unique, but you must examine your situation to see where you are. But certainly, talking about an emergency fund, let's say an emergency fund, traditionally what they will say is 4 to 6 months of your expenses. But it is very important, the third PTG pillar, setting smart financial goals. And maybe, one of your financial goals, the smart financial goals, if you do not have an emergency fund, is working towards. You're not going to get the 4 months overnight or the 6 months overnight, but working towards that, going in that direction to have an emergency fund, which is a smart. And I say smart financial goals because smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So an example of a smart financial goal would be, listen, starting the year, maybe I spent a lot of money at Christmas time, so I really want to start saving in 2022. Well, a smart goal, which is very specific, would be, I would like to save, or I'm going to save $100 each month. So by December 31st, 2022, I will have $1,200. I'm just giving you a number. So that number will vary because it's unique to individuals. But it is time bound, it's realistic, because remember, you've done your budget, you've started to save. Now you are looking towards the goals now and how you are going to get there. So you have to be very smart with setting these financial goals. Very, very, very important. And that is the third financial pillar. And if you don't, and again, similar to the budget, you should be writing these things down. Songs, airy-fairy, but the minute you write a financial goal down, it actually becomes real. If you take the time to, spend a couple minutes, spend a half hour, spend 15 minutes writing down a goal, something that's meaningful to you, it becomes real. And you realize, well, listen, I am on track towards this goal. So even if you are not there, writing it down is a gauge to, where you are at, how far off you are, and what are some of the things that you need to do to get back on track safely. So setting smart financial goals is very, very, very important.
And we continue speaking about filling the gap in your financial knowledge. Inside this, the month of January, which some people say has 100 days, we do that with founder Fill the Gap, Philip Williams. Stay with us. We return with more.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get an Evo 11.6-inch ultra-thin notebook, a Gateway 11.6-inch FHD ultra-slim notebook, a Gateway 14.1-inch ultra-slim notebook, a Gateway 11.6-inch 2-in-1 convertible notebook, or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. All laptops are brand new and come with a free 32GB flash drive. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. We also carry Fire HD 8 tablet, Fire HD 10 tablet, and the Amazon Kids Edition 7, 8, and 10-inch tabs. All tablets come with a free screen protector. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order, or visit us in-store at Force's flagship Mac Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery. The best deals on laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com.
Time to get up. That's for you. And that's for you. Feel better, Mom.
Panadol multi-symptom. Relief in minutes.
7 cold and flu symptoms. Panadol multi-symptom. A dose of efficacy and care.
It's the second season of Give Me a Song, a second chance for missed opportunities.
The last time I think I did well, but you know, it's been a while because I haven't sang a song in a little bit, you know.
But be careful, because what you don't know could hurt you.
I feel like somebody on what you know right now.
Give Me a Song, coming to TTT every Friday at 8 p.m. Give Me a Song is brought to you by Digicel, Little Caesars Pizza, Hurricane Reef, Bermudas, and Gma Home Furnishers.
TDT News. Committed. Accurate. Relevant.
Welcome back. We are going in depth on financial knowledge with founder of Fill the Gap, Philip Williams. And Mr. Williams, one of the things I appreciate you saying is that it is no place for your personal finances to reside just in your head as opposed to on paper. But doing better, starting from today is one thing, but you may have already established debt. How do we start to manage that debt though?
And managing that is extremely important. And I would say this is the fourth pillar, PTG pillar, because a lack of understanding in terms of how interest works can put you in a situation where you are paying a lot more interest than you would like to be paying. So I'll give you an example. You mentioned Christmas. You may use an example of let's say a credit card. So what happens? Let's say you spent a lot of money, swiped up the card at Christmas time. You may think that, okay, I need a breather now, so I'm going to pay the minimum balance. Well, what happens in paying a minimum balance is that really, and credit card debt is very, very expensive debt. So I think what people see is they see the instant gratification of, listen, I can have this now, but not thinking about what potentially could be the consequences down the road. So a $10,000 credit card with an interest rate of, because usually the interest rate is 24%, somewhere between 22%, sometimes as high as 26%. Very expensive debt. If you took that $10,000 and paid the minimum balance, which is say around 3%, $300, what you would find is that you'd be paying a balance, and you wouldn't see the balance reducing. And it will take you years, many, many years, almost 30 years to pay off a $10,000 credit card using the minimum balance. And in terms of the amount of interest you pay, the total amount that you'll spend when you add up everything, it's almost 3 times what you borrowed. So understanding how to manage your debt, where interest rates are in terms of your personal finances, is very important. Managing your debt, just let's keep it real. If I can purchase, either I can afford a $100,000 car, then don't buy the $200,000 car. And again, this is personal. I'm not telling anybody that they shouldn't buy the car that they want, but certainly think about yourself, because the long-term reward for yourself is really accumulating wealth, right? If you're purchasing a house, then maybe you need to think about how much debt you can incur every month, because if you take on too much debt, that's a problem. And what happens is you end up paying a lot more interest than you would like to be paying. The other thing is, if you do have an opportunity to reduce that debt, reduce the principal sooner rather than later, then you come out paying a lot less interest. And that's very important in terms of managing debt. How much interest you're paying, how quickly you can reduce that debt based on looking at these pillars. It's in our budget. I can save more. I have this SMART goal. I want to reduce my debt as quickly as possible because I have these long-term goals. So it's really staying within your financial lane, doing what is best for you, thinking less about the instant gratification, or just finding that sweet spot, your simple space, because I'm not telling anybody to live a life of misery, right? But certainly think about not stealing or robbing your future self down the road by paying too much interest. Very important in terms of managing that.
And I like the fact that you bring it back to an individual, because sometimes when things are looking very bright and shiny and you have that card to whip out like a Zorro going on, guns blazing and everything. You saying do not rob from your future self, I think brings that home in a manner that somebody else telling you something else might not. But in this time of the pandemic, when people are looking at pivoting, finding new jobs, or even the term of new revenue streams is really being used so much more. Investing or putting in money and deriving income from someone else's efforts. Where does that come? What role does that play in the whole picture?
They're investing to create wealth. Well, I mean, that's the fifth PTG pillar. Investing to create wealth. Investing really focuses on the long-term goals. Now, I know often when people hear investing or investment, they think about somebody who is wealthy. They think about somebody who has a fancy degree. They think about somebody who's dressed up in a suit and a tie, and that is not the case. Investing is for you. So Fill the Gap wants to remind everyone that you can invest. You shouldn't be waiting for the big lump sum or, when I get this bonus. You can actually invest with as little as $100. And when I say invest, the two main ways I will focus on is like investing in the stock market, or let's just say a mutual fund. Investing in the stock market, I'll give you an example. So the stock market, our all TNT, the local stock market produced a return of 20%. That's a great return. Let's say, for example, a grocery that everyone shops in, right, was a top performer on the local stock exchange with a return of 72%. But if you shop in the grocery, or you buy cars from this company, or you spend places, you don't only have to be a consumer, you can also be an investor. You can be a consumer and an investor and share in some of these profits that these companies in Trinidad and Tobago generate. And that's where you want to be, not just consuming and investing. And I don't, as I said, I want to remind you that investing is not just for the wealthy, and you can most certainly invest. It's also not about getting rich overnight. It's not about the get rich quick scheme. It's always that is tempting. Sometimes because of the environment, because of the pandemic, and you're thinking, oh, listen, let me make a quick buck. Let me make a quick dollar. What can I do to put my money? That's very, very dangerous. You work very hard for your money. Your money should be working for you, but it should be working for you in a way where it benefits you and it doesn't put you at risk where you can lose it all. So investing is long term. It's not a get rich quick scheme overnight, but remember I said it's about direction, not about perfection. So you may not be able to invest the same amount every month, right? You may some months you may not be able to invest at all, or you may be, just depends, right? Situations are unique, but certainly you want to be consistent and invest over time. And as I said, with as little as $100, there are avenues where you can invest in Trinidad and Tobago and have access to some of the top companies where you can share in their profits and get a decent return and work towards these long-term goals that you have.
Now, you see those avenues that you're talking about, Mr. Williams. I don't think everybody is walking around thinking that it's possible to invest in this grocery or this is a possible avenue. So how do you advise someone to get a professional or for something like this? Or is this a matter of do it yourself? We're looking at the university or YouTube, and we hope we get lucky with the investment.
I am very happy that you asked that. I know I'm very happy. So Fill the Gap is here for you. So in many channels, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. Fill the Gap, that's not F-I-L, that's P-H-I-L, Phil, as in Philip. Fill the Gap, TT. I answer many questions on a day-to-day basis. I direct people, steer them in the avenue where they should be going. And sometimes, guess what? You may not be in line. Like today may not be the day that you could be investing because you may have too much debt or you may not have any emergency fund, but it's something to work towards. But certainly, one of the avenues first, let's say a new investor, if you don't want to invest directly on the stock market, there's something called a mutual fund, which is a basket of stocks or a basket of these companies, these assets that I'm talking about, with as little as $100, you can have access to these companies. And I know it sounds far-fetched, but these are questions that I answer on a day-to-day basis. But it is doable. It is not as far-fetched as it seems.
And in terms of that last 30 seconds, what would you advise someone in terms of becoming less risk-averse while still being smart about it? Becoming
less risk-averse? There is risk in not taking risks, right? So if and there's risk also in not understanding the risk that you're taking. So I will cue you into the third pillar, which is setting smart financial goals, and you line up, well, okay, if this is a long-term goal, then I need to be putting my money in an asset that's going to generate long-term wealth. If it's a short-term goal like an emergency fund, I would say you want to put it in a short-term asset or product like a money market fund where you save, you have the money that's readily available for you because an emergency, you might need something right now. So you are on either end. So you have to take, or you should be taking risks to achieve the goals. There's risk in not taking risks, but there's also risk in not understanding the risks. But
you're dropping some big ones in this conversation. Philip Williams, founder, filling the gap in your financial knowledge. And we want to thank you so much for these things, pithy things for us to think about. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, we want to thank you. This has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you for joining us.
The winning numbers in the National Lottery online draws for Thursday, 20th January 2022. At 10:30 a.m., play away the number 3 carriage, pick 2 numbers 7 and 7, pick 4 numbers 0, 7, 5 and 6 in that order. At 1 p.m., play away the number 4 dead man, pick 2 numbers 32 and 33 in that order, pick 4 numbers 4, 2, 3 and 7 in that order. At 4 p.m., play away the number 20 dog, mega and mega ultra